Imagine the chaos of battle, the deafening roar of artillery, the desperate cries of wounded soldiers stranded far behind enemy lines. For them, hope is a fading ember. But what if hope had wings? What if a lone pilot, defying all odds and direct orders, decided to turn his aircraft into a lifeline? Today, we're delving into one of the most astonishing, yet largely unsung, rescue missions of World War II. This isn't just a story about flying. It's a profound look into the heart of a hero who risked everything for his brothers in arms. Welcome back to WarPsyche. We often focus on the grand strategies and epic battles that shaped history. But sometimes, the most powerful stories are found in the singular acts of courage that defy explanation. This is the story of a pilot whose bravery pushed the boundaries of what was thought possible. A man who saw fellow soldiers in peril and refused to look away. He wasn't on a bombing run or a dogfight patrol. His mission was one of pure, unadulterated humanity, to snatch life from the jaws of death. Our story begins in the brutal European theater of war. Allied forces are pushing deep into hostile territory, but progress is paid for in blood. During one such advance, a small unit of infantrymen finds themselves cut off, surrounded, and taking heavy casualties. Their radio crackles with desperate pleas for support, but the front line has moved on, and a conventional ground rescue is impossible. They are isolated, low on ammunition, and facing annihilation. Miles above, in the relative safety of the sky, a young pilot is finishing his patrol. His name was Lieutenant James "Jeb" Stewart, a man known more for his quiet demeanor than for daredevil antics. He flew a light observation plane, a Piper L for Grasshopper, affectionately nicknamed the Grasshopper. These planes were the eyes of the artillery, flimsy constructs of fabric and steel, with no armor and no weapons. They were designed to spot enemy positions and get out fast, not to dance through enemy fire. As Jeb flew back towards his base, he intercepted the frantic radio calls from the trapped unit. He could hear the gunfire, the explosions, the sheer panic in their voices. Standard operating procedure was clear. Report the position and let the chain of command handle it. Any attempt to intervene with a fragile L-4 would be suicide. The sky was still hot with enemy anti-aircraft guns, and fighters patrolled the sector. But as Jeb circled high above, peering down through his binoculars, he saw them. A small cluster of men, huddled in a shell crater, their situation growing more hopeless by the second. He saw the wounded, unable to move. Protocol went out the window. Conscience took the controls. In a decision that would stun his superiors and seal his legacy, Jeb pointed the nose of his Grasshopper down. He was going in. This wasn't a calculated risk. It was a leap of faith into a hornet's nest. He had no weapons to fight back, no armor to protect him. His only defense was his skill and the element of surprise. He needed a makeshift runway, a patch of ground clear enough to land and take off, right in the middle of a battlefield. He spotted a stretch of relatively flat, albeit pockmarked, field not far from the stranded soldier's position. It was dangerously close to enemy lines, but it was their only chance. He radioed his intentions, a move that was met with a mix of disbelief and stern warnings from his command. Negative, Lieutenant, abort. That's a suicide mission. But Jeb's mind was made up. I'm going in, was his simple, resolute reply. He cut his engine to glide in silently, hoping to avoid attracting immediate attention. The wind whistled through the struts of his flimsy plane as he descended into the heart of the battle. The ground rushed up to meet him. Bullets started to trace paths around his aircraft as enemy soldiers realized what was happening. A lone, unarmed American plane was attempting to land right under their noses. The landing was anything but smooth. The tiny plane bounced violently across the cratered field, its delicate undercarriage groaning under the strain. For a moment, it seemed the aircraft would flip over, but with masterful control, Jeb brought it to a halt. He hadn't even fully stopped when he was yelling at the soldiers, "Come on! The wounded first! Let's go!" The able-bodied men, galvanized by this unbelievable sight, scrambled from their cover, carrying their injured comrades. Machine gun fire raked the field, kicking up dirt all around them. It was a race against time. The Piper L4 was a two-seater. There was a pilot's seat and a spot for one observer behind him. It was never designed to carry passengers, let alone multiple wounded soldiers. But necessity is the mother of invention. They carefully placed one critically wounded man in the observer's seat. Another they laid across the laps of the first soldier and Jeb himself, a human stretcher crammed into a tiny cockpit. It was an impossibly tight fit. The plane was now dangerously overloaded, well beyond its specified weight limit. Now came the hardest part. Taking off. The field that was barely long enough to land was now far too short for an overweight takeoff. Jeb revved the engine to its absolute maximum, the small frame of the grasshopper vibrating violently. He held the brakes, building every ounce of potential energy. The remaining soldiers, providing covering fire, watched with bated breath. With a prayer, Jeb released the brakes. The plane crawled forward, agonizingly slow. It lumbered across the field, struggling to gain speed. Enemy fire was intensifying. He was a sitting duck. The end of the makeshift runway was approaching fast. The plane's wheels were still on the ground. It seemed impossible. In a final act of desperation, Jeb pulled back hard on the stick. The little plane groaned, its wings straining, and it lifted off the ground, just feet from the trees at the edge of the field. It was flying, but barely. The aircraft wallowed in the air, struggling for altitude, a perfect, slow-moving target. Miraculously, it cleared the trees and began a slow, painful climb. He had done it. He had pulled 2 men out of certain death. But he wasn't finished. As soon as he delivered the wounded to a forward aid station, he refueled, and, against every order, and every shred of common sense, he went back. He knew there were more men waiting, their hope now rekindled by his first miraculous flight. He flew back into the same storm of gunfire, landed on the same battered field, and packed more wounded soldiers into his tiny plane. Trip after trip, he flew this impossible shuttle service. Each landing was a gamble, each takeoff a miracle. He evacuated several more soldiers that day, each flight a testament to his unwavering courage and incredible skill. What drives a person to do something like this? It's a question we explore often here at WarPsyche. It wasn't for glory or medals. In the heat of the moment, with lives on the line, the human instinct to protect one's own can override every other logical thought, even the instinct for self-preservation. Lieutenant Stewart saw his fellow men, not as statistics on a battle map, but as individuals, as brothers who needed help. And he used the only tool he had, his tiny, fragile airplane, to answer their call. His actions were a powerful reminder that even in the midst of industrial-scale warfare, the compassion and bravery of a single individual can change the world, even if it's just for a few men on a forgotten battlefield. Stories like Jeb Stewart's are the heart and soul of military history. They show us that behind the uniforms and the machinery are people capable of incredible sacrifice and profound humanity. His Piper Grasshopper, a plane designed for observation, became an angel of mercy. It's a testament to the idea that it's not the equipment that makes a hero, but the will of the person operating it. Thank you for joining us on WarPsyche to hear this incredible true story. The courage displayed by pilots like Lieutenant Stewart deserves to be remembered and honored. If these stories of human bravery resonate with you, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel for more deep dives into the psychology and humanity of warfare. Let us know in the comments what you think of this incredible rescue. Until next time, stay curious and never forget the human element of history.